Ryan, can you make me a co-host, please? That's okay. See you guys.
See you. Hello, everybody. Hello again. I see a lot of people sharing each other in the chat. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everybody. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome again to Skills of the Future Bootcamp, brought to you by Skills for Skills in collaboration with More, to present you the top skills you need for the future of workplace. You're here, so you're taking the right next steps. Congratulations, and if you've been with us the whole bootcamp since the beginning, thank you so much. If you just joined, congratulations and welcome again. Let us know, how do you feel in the chat box? How are you? Are you excited? I see a lot of people saying that the fun began. Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you so much. We are really filled with your love and the excitement that you bring to us. And we got your request this morning about extra time on Zoom to share and learn from each other. So we will do that after the end of the workshop. And especially after we give you the little presentation about the two organizations behind this event. Now let's start the session with Mohamed. Thank you so much. I'm still reading your chat box. You're amazing. Thank you so much for the energy. We are 84 people right now. And if you are from a country other than Morocco, write us your city and your name and welcome with us. Yeah, I see friends. That's amazing. Hello. Thank you for joining us all. This is day 4 of our 10 days to learn, adapt, and apply. And we have with us Mr. Mohamed El-Dharrat, who is an expert in marketing, sales, and IT. We are very honored to have you with us today through various employee roles to delivering freelance consulting, starting and running recruitment, digital, and a business basketball company. He is an innovative and outside of the box thinker, UI and UX architect, and feature IA engineer, designing interfaces for application and websites, also early stage and supervised IE, as well as developing new and exciting systems for companies to become highly effective with their operations internally for their user engagement. He worked on many other projects. One of them is fashion digital technology solution, inventory display programs in VR and ER, holiday VR experience, real estate VR experience, SMEs efficiency resource tracker, and a lot of things. His most recent project is your VR stylist, in which he spent 2 years to learn different forms of IE, from NLP to image recommendation on Google Vision. He believes in IE and the role it can play in the future. He wrote a short book that will be presented on Amazon in the near future, and the title is Business, Chess, and Time. And personally, I love the title. So are you excited for this workshop that will open us to a new era of understanding the pertinence of technology, programs, and methods? And now the floor is yours, Mohamed. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you so much, Hannah, and welcome everybody to today's workshop. It's a great privilege that I come and I present this to you today. So I know you've all been waiting, so let's get started. So today's workshop is about technology design and programming. I'm hoping to take you through this step by step. If you do have any questions, please either write them in the chat box or wait to the end, and I'll do my best to answer them and get back to you in due course. Now, before we begin, I'd like to take you through the 5 different parts of our workshop today. So we have a brief introduction about myself and about the course in general, what you're going to be taking away, the skills and experience which you will be attaining from this. And also this is being designed as an interactive workshop. So hopefully either you can listen or you can take part. I recommend you do take part to get the most value out of it possible. We'll be looking at interfaces and user experience, understanding them and why they're so important, the control mechanisms and the navigation systems which enable us to use apps and websites in a day-to-day basis. Finally, we'll be looking at languages and different forms of AI on a very brief entry level, just to give you enough knowledge and ability to get ahead in the workspace. finally, we'll be looking at somewhere which I have a bit of excitement and experience behind, which is mixed realities. And this is the future of framework. This is something that I'm really excited about, and I'm sure that you all will be using it in the very near future if you're not creating it. Now, briefly just touching on myself. Personally, I'm very passionate about creating software which is not only meaningful, but it's fun as well in its features and its functions. Now, through this, I have done a range of jobs from consultancy, creative design, working in media, advertising, helping companies conceptualize and put together different forms of strategy as a mentor and a consultant. Finally, I always like to say the customer is the most important part in any business, and the AI working the program as well. Now that's enough about me, and let's talk about the program. So this is technology design, an introduction to programming as a whole. I'm not going to be teaching you programming, but I'm going to be telling you the steps and ways and things that you should be thinking about before you even consider putting any algorithms into place. Now, this program will give you insights on strategies, theories, and how to approach this, whether you want to be a freelancer or an employee within someone's company. A freelancer could be a consultant or a remote worker doing programming and designing for different companies. This is an interactive workshop again, so if you do have a pen and paper to hand, I would advise that you get it and you get ready, or if you have something to write on. It just gives you the ability to be part of this program and really get involved in and learn through trial and error, which is the most important way of learning. Now, when I'm going to be doing this, there's two parts to it. So I'm going to be asking you to think of your own software, which you'd like to create. Secondly, we're going to be using some existing platforms, and we're going to be looking at the functions and features that are inside of it in order to best understand how they work and how we can perform them as a designer or a developer. Now, in the chat box, I know you're all very active already, but if you could just do for me a favor, I would like to see which one among you are a developer. Please press 1, whether that's full stack, front end, back end, SQL. If you have them bits of knowledge, please press 1. If you have some skills of knowledge, whether that's wireframing, prototyping, or just very basic system design, please press 2. But if you're a student and you're learning, please press 3 so that I can know what level you're at, and then it gives me the ability to really understand where you are and a bit more about yourselves.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt you, Mohammed. I think the sound is a little low.
Okay.
Yeah. If you can fix that. Yeah.
No problem. Is that any better for you now? Are you able to hear me a bit better now? Is that okay?
Yeah, I can hear you with my headphones. Yeah, everyone's. Yeah, we got one. Yes. Tell us if you can hear him well. Thank you. Yes.
Hello?
Now it's fine.
Okay?
Amazing. So as he's, if you are one of the 1, 2, 3, can you please write where you think you are?
Thank you, everybody. And thank you for your patience as well. Any interruptions, anything that you don't understand or my volume's low, please just tell me so that I can really, enable you to get as much value as possible. I don't want to be going too silent throughout this workshop.
Okay, thank you. Are you able to see the chat?
I'm not able to pop out because I don't want to change screen. So if you could just let me know how many.
Yeah. We got a lot of 3. We got a lot of 3, then 2 in the second place, and then 1, I think, in the third place. Can you correct me, please, if I'm wrong? My friends from the participants. As I observed, we got a lot of 3, then 2, then 1. Yes.
Okay, that's no problem. And if anybody is able to take part in the workshop or would like to be interactive with it, if you can just press the number 4 now, so I know whether or not to slow down at the interactive part or to ever just go through it at a steady speed. So if you are taking part in the interactive part, please press 4 now so I know.
We got 1-4.
1-4. Okay, no problem. That's fine. Excellent. At least one person's gonna.
Maybe, yeah, they said they didn't hear. Can you please reply?
Oh, sure. So if you want to take part in the workshop, please press number 4 now so that I can slow down when we're doing the course.
Of course, yes. Big 4.
A big 4. Wonderful. Okay, great. So some of the benefits of this course. This course is designed for you to understand the basic principles of user interface and experience with guidance of theories in design. I will go into this further. Don't worry, it's not as complex as it sounds. Secondly, we'll be looking at some of the pros and cons of websites and applications. Lastly, we'll be touching on the failure points in technology. Some apps and programs, websites that you go on, they're really effective. That's because the design team and the development team have mastered what are the failure points, things that can go wrong, and they've done their best to avoid them or minimize the risks. Now, the next step in this, and what I'm hoping that everybody will be taking away, is how to the different types of languages and prototype tools that you can use. So you don't need to ideally understand how to code fully. You can go on prototype toolkits and you can create softwares and applications on there, then give them to developers. This is something that's been taking place a lot now. Secondly, if you are looking for a job as a programmer or as a UI UX, that's a user interface or a user experience designer, this will give you a lot of help. Finally, the business of software. So I think it's absolutely great us telling you about the different ways of making software and the things to consider. But I also think it's very important that we understand why for the future, this is very important as a business and it can sustain you and others as a company. And I would encourage people to think about this and look at it as well. Now, let's get into it, the planning. So, as part of this interactive workshop, I would like you to consider the following. If you were able to create any type of software, what would you create? Now, this doesn't have to be a hard thing. I've put 4 down already. So it could be a socializing app such as Facebook or Instagram and so on, an e-commerce store, or an improvement app, an app to help people get fit, to time manage, to be aware of business and opportunities in the market. Finally, it could be a virtual coaching or learning app, such as Khan's Academy. If you don't want to think of one of those and you want to think of your own, please go ahead and do so. When the people who are finished doing the interactive part, please press number 4. Again, I appreciate any answers, any questions, and I'll give you the answers to the best of my ability at the end of this course. Now, with the app that you have chosen, there are different types of formats that you can use. This could be a website, a web-based application. So this is a website, which is also an app as well. We could have an iOS app. So this is an app for the Apple Store. Finally, we could have an Android app. This would go on the Play Store. Some companies, most of the big companies, they're on all of them. Personally, I like to start on a website, make it a web-based application. Then I would move on to making an Android and then an iOS app. That's the order that I would personally take when creating any form of software. Now, some of the principles of any platform, they comprise of 3 main parts. This is a front end, a back end, and the data. So the data can be used in the database, or it could also be used as enhancing the performance of any machine learning software or AI to help any functions or features with the user experience as it's moving on. Now, things to consider when you're creating any form of program. It should always be solution-based. If you're making a program, I can't emphasize it enough, you need to know what the problem that you're solving is, and you need to focus on the solution. You need to be user-centric. Jeff Bezos at Amazon has designed Amazon, and all the features and functions are user-centric and focused on the customer's needs and ensuring that the customer has the best customer journey from what they're doing. Finally, you need to focus on the core functionality of any device. So if it's an Android device, Apple device, PC device, you need to understand what this is, and you need to ensure that anything that you're putting in there, you understand how the phone, the tablet, the PC works, and then work towards it. Secondly, you need to create clear guidelines about what is possible for the user when accessing your program. Lastly, it's identifying the user journey through designing your system. Make it fun and make it interactive. Don't make things just for the sake of it. If you could make any sort of program and you wanted other people to use it, why would they use it? These are the sorts of things that you have to think about when doing it. When we looked at virtual reality, we were considering how do we make this fun? So we looked at the human and we said, let people personalize themselves and put their own data in, and then they can explore with themselves through personalization. This is something that it doesn't seem very important, but trust me, this is probably the most important thing that I'm going to be covering today. Now, when we're doing any programming, before we even get there, I would always say, look at these 4 key steps. Who are your competitors? Can you do a SWOT analysis on them or a PESTEL analysis? Who are your customers? Can you do any customer research on them? What's the size of the market? Who are they? How much do they spend? What other apps are they using? The customer persona, what brands do they like? What's their age group? What's their average income? Branding. So any company that you create or you're doing consultancy for, they will have a set of branding with their guidelines. You're going to use this, and this is going to be the look, color, and feel of the brand in the application or the website as a whole. Now, we're going to jump in and we're going to start with some open and closed thinking. This is going to support us through getting our app and our website designed with intelligence. So there's 7 parts to this. So first of all, we need to prepare ourselves. We need to look at the problem at hand. So for example, I'm going to say we're looking at a sports application. Now we're going to prepare. We're going to expand on the problem space. So we're going to discover, okay, we can do virtual coaching. We can do interactive sessions. We can do video calling. We can have the coaches record the sessions and put it on the application so that users can look at it. We're also going to look at various things such as players recording themselves and putting it on there for coaches to review. That's great. Now let's define it. Let's close that down and narrow it down. And once we've done that, we can then say, okay, we've found all the possibilities and ideas through a discovery stage. Let's narrow that down into tangible step-by-step processes in order for us to get a better idea of what the core functionality of the application is going to be. So we've decided that it's going to be a virtual coaching application. Now let's look at the design space. So we say we want all these videos and audio and so on and so forth. That's fantastic. We're validating it. Okay, we don't have the ability to put videos, sound, audio on there because we don't have the database storage and we need to install cloud. And maybe there's other problems as size and resolution. So now we need to narrow this down until we get to the point where we're happy with making something that's called a MVP, a minimum viable product, or a prototype. I'm going to go into this further. And again, if you have any questions or you don't understand this, I will go into it a bit more, whether it be after the workshop or at a later date. Now, divergent thinking, this is open thinking. If you are doing the interactive part, I want you now to write down what problem are you trying to solve. So with the virtual coaching app, We're trying to make coaching accessible for all users, whether it be in a COVID quarantine situation or whether it be in a post-COVID marketplace. Can the problem be expressed in a simple question? Make coaching available virtually. So that's we're answering the question here. Who are we seeking the platform for? It's the players and the coaches. So now we have a two-way platform for coaches and players. Now moving on from here, we have we're solving the user's problem with this platform. How are we doing this? We're doing this with virtually coaching. And how would it work? It would work by using a Zoom-like plugin onto the platform, which enables users to see, record, and also stream other videos. How do we make the most of the device's capability? So you can look at what is the capability of any device. For example, if it's a phone and it's not working online, can we download the videos and so on beforehand, or is it able to connect to Wi-Fi? Finally, we can do much more than just solve an existing problem. For example, we can add an e-commerce market on there, so we can sell basketball or football or cricket merchandise. And we can also do a chat box where people can talk, maybe a social link where people can link up and talk to each other and form teams together. Can we make a demo or a prototype of this version? What form could this prototype or demo take? Now, I know I've gone through this very quickly. Usually we would sit down and we would take the time to map out and write out each one of these and the answers for each one. Again, if you do have any questions on this, please write in the chat box and I'll do my best to answer it as and when I can. Now, after we've completed this, we're going to look at the hierarchy of user needs. There are four key parts to this. We have the product vision board, mobile business canvas model, value proposition canvas, and the empathy map. For the sake of today, I'm just going to look at the product vision board. I would advise that you take note of these and that in your own time, you go ahead and you look at them and you review them to understand them, as this is critical to any form of consultancy or freelance work as a designer, as a consultant, or as an individual looking to create the next app or website, which will add great value to users and businesses alike. So let's talk about the product vision board. Now, I want you to take the time to think about this. If you're not taking part in the interactive part, I just want you to think about this as a socializing app, for example, say Facebook. So what do you think Facebook's vision is? What was the purpose of them creating Facebook? Who were their target audience? What are the needs of the customer? Why does it benefit them? What is the product? So it's a website or an application. And what are the business goals? Is that to sell add-ons? Is that to generate data? What do you think they are? Okay, great. I'll just move on now. So things to take away from what I've just said there. Please practice the four different theories that I've mentioned. Consider the double diamond model, which is convergent and divergent thinking. Also, to improve your user experience and how to build and solve problems, think about it, map it out from start to finish. Why would they need this software? How are you solving it for them? How would you be user-centric? And I hope that part helps. Now, let's move into
to interrupt you, Mohammed, again, we got some requests that the voice is low.
Oh, sorry.
If you can just keep working
Is that
on
any
that.
better?
It's better, yeah.
All right. Apologies, everybody. I hope it's okay now. Okay. Everything okay
Yes.
now?
Yes.
Wonderful. Right, so for a moment, I want you to think about one of these 6 programs. I'm going to pick eBay, and I want you to pick one as well. So we have Snapchat, Netflix, Gmail, Audible, eBay, and LinkedIn. Now, think about the following. What is the display and resolution size of this? So eBay tends to fit the screen that we're on. The quality needs to be quite high in the resolution because we're looking at products for sale and we're looking at various other features such as products to buy. Next, does it use a lot of battery or power? So for example, eBay or YouTube or Netflix, they tend to use a lot of power and it consumes a lot of battery. These apps work online or offline. For example, Audible, you download the book, it goes onto your device, and then you can use it offline as well as online. Does any of these require a login or a sign-up feature? Majority of them, yes, they absolutely do. So these are things which currently exist, but these are things that you also should be considering as you're developing and creating your website or applications. Now, again, thinking about the same system, do they use a location service? Are there any notifications that pop up on your home screen or tell you you're bidding, you've been outbidded, or the product that you want to buy is going to be ending soon? Facebook, I know, is a big one for sound alerts, which is very popular, and it helps customers engage because of the sound. Is there any camera or video function which are running with the software? For example, let's say Snapchat, you record videos, you take pictures and you input them onto the database, which is then displayed and shown to all the different users. Are there any input functionalities? Can you search for anything? Can you enter anything? That could be chat, that could be finding something in the database. So I have to think about that. Now, if I was commissioning you and I said, right, you're part of my design team right now, we've been commissioned by Netflix and they've asked us to create some upgrades. What sort of upgrades do you think would be useful for Netflix or one of the 6 companies? How would you approach that? Would you use the models and the theories I've just said? Or how would you think about that? I want you just for a second to think, if you were in this position right now and you were asked to upgrade this, what would you do? Excellent. Now let's move on to navigations and control, just to check that everyone can hear my voice and it's okay. Excellent. So now when we're designing a website, so for example, you're working with me now, and I've said we have a new client and they're wanting to create a new website. Things that you need to consider. Do we need a login or a sign-up page? What does the main homepage look like? What are the functions and features on it? Can we navigate anywhere? Is there any other sub-pages that we should be considering? What is the endpoint of the checkout page? These are 4 basic questions which I really want you to think about before creating or moving forward to do any other software or application development.
Mr. Mohamed, I'm sorry to stop you, but the participants are saying that they can't hear you well.
Oh, right. Apologies about that. Apologies.
And we are sorry about that.
No problem at all. No problem at all. Can everybody hear me now a bit better?
Guys, please, your feedback on the chat box, please. Okay, so now they can. Thank you so much, Mr. Mohamed.
I apologize to everybody again about my volume. I hope you can hear me now. And if you'd like me to go back a few slides, just to make sure that I give you the best value, I'm more than happy to do so. So if you'd like me to go back a few slides, please press number 1 and I will do so.
Yeah, they are saying that you can go back a little bit.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they say yes.
No problem at all. So I think I'll just go back to, right, I'll start from here just to make sure that everybody can hear me okay.
Yes.
So now, for example, I want you to think that you're working with me. And as a consultant, we've been asked by a company such as Netflix or eBay to improve their software. They want us to look at it and to add better features and functions for the user experience from this. So please pick one of the 6 companies that we have in front of us right now. So that's Gmail, Audible, Netflix, eBay, LinkedIn, and Snapchat. Excellent. Now we're going to look at the different things that are in with these programs. So how does the programs that we've chosen use the following? What are the display and resolution, this and the size? What are we looking at on eBay? It's very important for the resolution and the size of the products which are for sale to be visible. Netflix, it needs to have a clear video for the users to enjoy their videos. However, the power and battery use when we're looking at Netflix is going to be substantially higher due to the videos and the playback which is done. Most of these apps will require online connection to Wi-Fi. Finally, can we use it offline? With the likes of Audible, we can download programs and then we can listen to them later. Can we implement any other things into that? For example, in Netflix, you can also do this. Last but not least, do we require a login or a sign-up feature? Now, again, I want you to think about the program at hand. Does it have a location service? Does it need that? Does it have any notification bars? For example, eBay saying an item that you've bidded for is you've been outbidded, or pay for an item at hand. And Snapchat, a friend has messaged you. Are there any sound alerts that are inside there? Are there any camera functions or features? So that's taking a video or a picture or even receiving one. Then finally, it's input features. So that's such as, can I search for something? Can I talk to somebody by typing in or entering something? These are things which we should consider. If you are taking part in the interactive part, please write yes or no against each point of these. Now, as you're working with me, for example, I would say to you, right, so we've just been approached by Netflix. They've asked us to do a project where they want us to improve their platform. For a moment, I want you to think about how would you improve Netflix? Would you use the theories which I provided to you beforehand? Or what sort of things would you put together in order for you to upgrade Netflix? I understand that, again, there's a lot of students here, but this is just something to consider when we're working in this space. Now, let's move on to navigations and controls. I'm going to go back to your software and the one that you are designing. So the one that I've chosen is the Sport Virtual application. In this, I would need users to have a login or a sign-up page so that they can save their information and create a profile. Does your website application need a homepage? The one that I would be creating would have a homepage. This homepage would say the latest news and information about what's going on in basketball local to them. Are there any sub-pages from the homepage? So you'd have pages such as an e-commerce checkout, maybe a page about where to find better coaches, another page on a database entry so people can store information on their latest plays, input information, so other people can connect with them. Is there any checkout or endpoints? So an endpoint would be, I would like a coach I click on the coach, I click buy now, and I've just ordered a session. And then I can have a video one-to-one session with the coach, and that could be a checkout. Or in simplistic terms, you go onto a website, you click on a t-shirt, you click buy now, it goes to your basket and you check out. So whenever you're designing a website, just always think of these simple things, yet they'll help you design the steps and stages from start to finish. Now, when we're looking at creating any form of application, we have to think about these three things. Will your users be in a rush when using a platform? For example, there's a difference between when they want to use Netflix and when they want a taxi using Uber. So these are sorts of things which you should be considering. When will they be using or accessing your platform? Is it a leisure thing? Is it a daily thing? Is it a pastime? Is it a development, personal development, business development? These are things that you also should be considering. And finally, what features would support that interaction without complicating the process? So for example, if you wanted to add some features such as sound, a few interactive elements, such as when you click on something, an item moves, or you could add an emoji when in chats. These are all nice, simple features. However, we don't want to complicate the process. We don't want to overwhelm the users. We want to make it as simple as possible, yet as effective as possible. Another very important point is always keep your content to a minimum. It's absolutely great having an all singing and dancing website or an application. However, if it's too complicated for the users, they won't use it. Now, I want you to think of one of the biggest websites and most successful websites in the world, and then think about it. How much does it have going on? Google. If you go onto your platform now, onto your Explorer, and you enter Google, it's so simple. It's literally one bar, and you enter in there and you search and get results. Now, Google is $1 billion plus company. Why haven't they moved from just having a search bar? Why don't they have hundreds of different tools and panels and so on? It's because they understand that we need to keep the attention span of the user focused on the product at hand. So you enter what you want, you search, you find it. Google's job is done. Uber, I would like a taxi. I click my location, I tell it where it is, it tracks the taxi, it comes, picks me up, it drops me off. Very simple. Just eat. I would like food. I select the takeaway, I select what I want, I buy it, it tells me how long it's going to take, the food gets delivered. Very, very simple. This is, again, I would like to emphasize on the simplisticness of the nature of these programs, but the success that these programs and these companies have had, which I would like you to have as well. Now, this is something very basic which I put together. It's just an ease of understanding. So what we created here with the bag, this is a swipe. So if you like it, you swipe it and then it saves and stores it. It then puts the preference data into a category system such as an outfit. When you're happy with that, you can click add to basket. It will go to the basket. What you want, you can click on the boxes. You can buy it now, and that's it. Whenever you design anything, remember, white backgrounds are nice and clean. It enables users to see what they're looking at. Less is more. Make sure that you have the navigation points to go backwards and forwards, and that the users can go easily through the process many times without ever having to leave or restart the website or application. Now, the reason we use icons and less words is this becomes universally acceptable. So we can have a system where we have arrows, we have the home icon and so on. And this gives us the ability when we are needing to translate or use different APIs to change the language for various users, we don't have to because the icons do the work for us. In this day and age, the icons are universally understood. This means that users everywhere in the world, you can show them an icon of a homepage, then no, that's go to homepage. An icon of a telephone or a envelope, that means contact us, and so on and so forth. The second part in this, I would say, is keep it simple yet straightforward. Going back to Google, you see it, there's a search bar, you know to type in that search bar, and then you'll get your results. This is simple, it's enter, move forward. Now, when you are designing, make sure you keep a lot of space in between the different parts. So for example, we have the product, we have the space underneath and information, and then any backwards or forward tools. This means that the users aren't clicking and overlapping by trying to click on back and it's taking them forward or so on and so forth. Remember, just less words, more icons, and more spacing. Excuse me. Now, fail points. I mentioned this earlier, and in my consultancy, this is something that we do a lot. I'll talk about this a bit before I go into it. So whenever I go to a company and I have a look at their website or their application, I find a lot of them like to integrate and implement a lot of different pages and resources and information, but one thing they don't consider is the more moving parts you have, the more problems that you're going to face and encounter. So reducing these and keeping them very simple, this reduces the amount of failure points that you have. The more different parts and transitions that you have, the more development, care, and attention that you're going to need with each part of the program. So let's get into it and let's learn a bit more about it. So touching on some failure points, a login. So if a user wants to log in, so I've created this wonderful app, you've come to log in and you've got your password. As a developer, we forgot to put forgot password, reset password. We didn't create the pages for that. We didn't do that. We didn't think about that. Now that's a problem. Now the user can't get in, they can't access the application, we've just lost a user. So it's very important that we consider that when having a login or a sign-up feature. What are the users going to be facing and encountering, and how do we support them through that? Transitions between pages or gateways. If you have nice animations or interactive screen changes or just different parts of navigation, keep it simple. Because if you have a nice fancy, moving part when someone clicks on something, this thing moves, then maybe the person's mobile phone or desktop is slow. And then when they do that, they have a delay or the screen or the website crashes. So it's important when you do this to think about that and to reduce the amount of energy which is going to be needed in order, or processing power, sorry, would be a better word, in order to move various parts or pages back and forwards in their transition. Customization portals. So I've created an application, and on there, the users are able to have, excuse me, customers are able to have facial recognition technology where it can look at your face, it can read the color of your skin, it can look at your eyes, your hair, and it can say, right, okay, but according to the AI, these sorts of clothes will match you because of your face and your skin and so on and so forth. Now, when we do that, if you don't have cookies enabled or a cloud storage to access that information or to save that information, you will encounter another problem, and you will be facing a point where people create logins, but then when they go on there, their information isn't there. And it's very frustrating for a user to have created this and taken the time to do it, to then go back and find that their information hasn't been saved. So I would really hope that you consider these things when you're looking at anything. I would say in the early stages, it's better not to have it, to learn about it and to test it, instead of going ahead and developing it and doing it and then facing a lot of failure points very early on. Now, does your program require access to Wi-Fi or a data connection to access any databases that you may have? If so, maybe you can think of some downloading. So create some space on the app so that they can download, whether it be a video or a picture or something as such, so that they can access that at a later time. I know I talked a very lot there about failure points, but it's very important that we understand it and that we recognize the things that could go wrong and we take the steps to ensure that they don't. Now, there's two types of development. There's responsive and adaptive. With responsive, this is one single platform. This one single platform, it's the same everywhere. With adaptive, it changes according to the different platform, whether it's mobile phone, whether it's a desktop computer. It makes the screen and the resolution change to ensure that they can be best displayed for the user. I just saw someone raise their hand there. Is everything okay there?
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful.
Yes, we got all well.
Okay. So we're going to touch very quickly now on user interface and user experience. So user experience is the customer journey. User interface is what you are looking at, what you're seeing. A product always starts with the experience, then the interface follows it. It's important to have both of these to ensure that your platform can be the best product that you can possibly create. Now, look and feel. So in order for you to create anything, it's very important that you do design research first. Then have a look at your branding and graphic development. And then have a user guide or a storyboard that's having different stages. Design it, draw it out. Like I said, get a pen and paper or a whiteboard and just take your time and design it and go through it. You might have to do it multiple times. You might get it right the first 4 or 5 times that you do it. Now let's look at an example of that. So, sorry, just before we go into that, I want you to just think about for a second the application that you thought about in the early stage. Is this going to be customer related or business related now for what we've learned? What format do you want it in? Do you want it to be a website, an application, or all three as an adaptive or responsive application or software? Now we understand the basics of what our tools are. If we were to create a basic version of this, what would it look like? What would the software entail? How many pages would it need? Can you draw it in simple steps? What would your average user's time be? So let me talk about that just a little bit more. Excuse me. So a basic version of a coaching app, it would be an application that has a login screen. Then we'd go to a home page, then a contact point, and then a checkout. So that's 4 pages. Excuse me. Can we draw it? We most likely could. And the way you draw them is you just keep them very, very simple. You draw them on paper first, then you can go onto a prototyping tool and you can lay them out step by step. Thinking about the average user's time. So if we think of, let me think, Facebook, you'll be on Facebook for a few minutes to a couple of hours, depending on which part of the Facebook platform that you go on. Again, you could look at tools such as Netflix. Again, this is something that you could be on there for hours. And then it just depends on the nature of your program and why you've created it, which is vital. Now, this is a very basic wireframe that I put together for this presentation. So as we're drawing our application, we can put our product in there. We can have the various different points. This is just a very basic tool that I put to draw on here just for an example. You don't need to be a world-class artist. You don't need to be drawing Picasso's work. It's just giving you an idea of the basic steps of where and how your application is going to work. Once you understand the different buttons that you press, where it's going to take you and what it's going to do, this will assist you into going into something a bit more advanced. So now, for example, say we've drawn a basic application. We can then move on to something called system design. That's starting from where your customers come from, your users, or how are they active? Are they purchasing or just browsing users? What you're doing with their data? Can we use machine learning to support that data? Do we send any add-ons to them to close the sales to make them a purchase user instead of just a browsing user? We then move on with their content and then, their data. That data can be used for various things, or it can be used to support what adverts are going to be given to them. YouTube, they use a very similar model to this. Now, programs and programming language. Just to make sure that everybody can hear me okay and everybody's still following, please just let us know in the chat if everything's okay.
Yes.
Wonderful, thank you very much. So I had a question about which platform I would recommend you start on. Now, these all here are very interesting platforms. I would recommend, if you want to go into development, to look at Python. Python is probably one of the best ones to start on. You can make basic programs on this, but you can also go all the way to artificial intelligence. You can merge these different languages together. You can use it for front and back end. I'm not going to go into these languages too much or for too long. However, I would consider that you look at these languages, you understand them, and then you take your time to see which one works best for you as an individual. Some people work better as a back-end developer. Some people work better as a front-end developer. Some people are a full-stack developer. That means they know the front and the back end. I'll just give you enough time so that you can take a note of these different websites, these different languages. Now, prototyping tools. So me personally, I spend a lot of time on a program called Just in Mind. Just in Mind is a program which enables you to design wireframes. It's the picture that you can see there. On the left, however, these are names of other programming tools, prototyping tools, excuse me, these are prototyping tools, which enable you to design from wireframes now into graphics. So this is where your artistic skills and graphics really need to get better. What I showed you before in the wireframing part, that was an example of how it doesn't have to be anything advanced. You're just doing a basic idea. Once you've got the basic idea and you understand the system, we now have the different steps and stages that will take us through the process of application. Once you have the knowledge of that, then you know which languages to best use in doing so. If you are early stage in this, I would suggest that you work with developers, or you become a developer yourself and then you move on to this. Or if you want to do UI and UX development, this is something that you should be looking at. So I'll give you a moment now just to look at the different programs, to take any notes if you'd like. Again, these sorts of tools here, I use this a lot. I use this for various forms of development. Once you've developed your different pages, you can navigate, so you can start from the intro all the way to the final page. Then once you're finished, you can click export. Once you export, it'll export it in a Word document ready for a developer or yourself as a developer to go through it. So there are some really, really great tools out there. And as time proceeds, technology is getting a lot better and a lot faster. And I'd not worry too much, because things are getting easier for us as they were a good few years ago. Oh, excuse me. So now we've got the program developed. Once we've got the program developed, we can look at two stages. So we can look at an A or B test or split testing. That's where we create two versions of the website or the app, and we tell customers, try these two and let us know what you think. And feedback from customers and users is probably the most essential thing. You can, in my early days, we created programs and apps and websites, and we just expected everybody to like it. Now I've got to a point where before I do anything, I'm always consulting and working with, whether it's a small group of people or a select group of people to look at the websites and the programs, to test them, and to give me their feedback. There's always something that could be improved. There's always something that maybe you've neglected or forgot, whether it's forget to do a login part where I forget my password and a login screen for that, or just a simple error message saying you are not connected online, please connect online to continue. Now let's briefly touch on artificial intelligence. So artificial intelligence is probably one of the more exciting parts for me. The three core parts, there's narrow, general, and super intelligence. Currently, we're on the narrow level of artificial intelligence. I'm not going to go into explaining artificial intelligence as I'm sure everybody understands what artificial intelligence is. Now let's talk about building a machine learning system. So there's 5 simple steps to this. First of all, we need to get the data. Once we have the data, we can put that data in something called data sets, so that using data, so in my fashion system, what we did is we looked at all the different categories of clothes for male and females. We then categorized them from head to toe. So the head was a number 1 and the foot was a number 10. And then all the different from hats, sunglasses, earrings, necklaces, shirts, vests, different layers. So it was categorized from 0 to 10, and then the layers from A, B, C, all the way to E. And this is how we built our data sets. And then that kind of comes into part 2, where we're cleaning and preparing. So then we're making this information easy to read and understand, and in a more structured approach that anybody wanting to further their program can do so. We'll then move on to training the model. Once the model has been trained with a set language and set algorithms, we'll then move on to testing it. Once we've tested it, we've looked at it, we've got the answers, we can move on to improve it. There are various forms of this which you can look at. There's things such as a speech to text, understanding cluster recommendations, and so on. Sorry, I think that's on the next slide. Yeah. So going back to your application or your program now, how would you use AI? What sort of things do you think AI could benefit you with? For example, AI can help you change your user preferences. So as a user, I look at Netflix and I want to watch an action movie. So now it starts recommending action. So it changes the preference and it starts adding action movies in front. Now I've got customers on my website who have liked shirts. Because they've liked shirts, we've categorized them in a cluster recommendation. And this is, for example, saying that anybody who likes this, we put into this bracket, so then we recommend them the same thing. We look for user interaction and their levels. So this is more used in games. So the AI in the game can see what level you are at, and then it can interact with you. For example, if you're playing a game and you're struggling, it will go down to easy. If you're doing exceptionally well, it will push it up to hard. Now, implementation such as pathfinding, so we look at different branches of where you want to go. So decision making, if you choose this path, will allow you to explore these options. So I'm not going to go into that because this is where we get into the more technical side of system design and machine learning design. And I could talk about this all day. However, it can get quite advanced. So I'm going to just end on that for now. The future of technologies. So anybody looking at website design, programming of any sort, I would recommend that you take consideration and look into these. So mixed reality. So we're looking at something called the 4th Industrial Revolution. This is the merging of us with technology and AI, and the line in between being blurred. The different forms of mixed reality. Virtual reality and so virtual reality is where you put your headset on and you can only see what's being displayed in the little monitors inside the headset. AR, augmented reality, is where you can still see everything around you, but you use a pair of glasses. These pair of glasses interact with what's going on. So they have a little camera. The little camera is looking around and it's saying, this is a Samsung monitor. This is a keyboard, and so it understands and recognizes what's in front of it, interprets it and translates it based on the program that you have in front of you. Most common tools are just search, recognize, so that could be reverse image searching. So it looks at an image, it looks at a database, it compiles the two and says, right, this is the closest match. I think that this in front of me is a monitor. It's going to tell us that's a monitor. That's how AR works, basically. And then finally, hyper reality, which is something that I'm immensely interested in, and I'd advise everybody to take the time and to think about it, because this is going to be the future, if not very soon, then in the near future. Hyper reality is merging everything that I've mentioned and more through combining our world and AI into one. Now, virtual reality. The virtual reality program is being used in many different ways right now. What we've seen is with shops and other businesses being affected by COVID and economic downfalls, virtual reality is really breaking ground. Imagine from the place that you sat right now, you can shop in New York, Milan, Singapore, all by simply putting a pair of goggles on. Imagine being able to book your next holiday, putting a pair of goggles on, seeing a hotel, looking at some of the sites that you want to go to, bookmarking them, making reservations, even seeing the various people who would be there, their language, what their customs are, various things that you may need to learn. Education. So people in hospitals, so doctors and nurses, they can literally perform almost real surgery, but using these goggles and wearable technologies which enable them to be in the room of an operation and to test and prepare themselves before they're even there. Virtual reality is really, it has a long way to go, but the uses for it now are already incredible. Now let's talk about augmented reality and some of the benefits. Have you ever wanted to buy a product and then thought, would that fit in my room? Would this bookcase look nice? Would this lamp look nice next to there? There are apps and programs now which can actually do that. And augmented reality is growing. Fashion is one of the industries, which is implementing this heavily. So you can look at yourself and you can use this and you can see different clothing on yourself and so on and so forth. This can also be used in different ways and forms. You yourself are going to be a shaper and a maker of some of these incredible abilities with augmented reality. The augmented reality is going to come first, then virtual reality will follow, but then it will be overtaken by hyper reality. Now, hyper reality is furthering our engagement with AI and our everyday life. Having the ability to interact with our social media tools, with Google, and with everything else around us. Imagine going to the shop or going out and having Google by your side. What could Google do for you if it was there at all times? What would you do if you could have access to coupons and access to various different promotion codes which pop up and tell you? What if the adverts around you changed for you so it understands what you like? So instead of you seeing a stationary advert that everybody sees, why not have adverts and information around you tailored for you? For me as a Muslim, I could be walking and it would say, Mohammed, it's time for Maghrib. The mosque is straightforward to the right. It could also tell me you're interested in networking. Did you know there's a networking event taking place here? Simply click on this and we'll sign you up and then you can log in. And that's simply by walking down the street. These are some of the things that you should just take the time to research and think about. This technology is not there yet. So if you are to look into it now, you potentially could be one of the first early adopters or working at some of the major companies around the world in developing the infrastructure and the positions for this. Now, if you are to create your program, which one of the following would you want to implement? Would you want to use augmented reality? Would you want to use virtual reality? Or would you want to use hybrid reality? Thank you very much, everybody, for taking part in this workshop. I hope it's been insightful, and I hope you've taken some value from it. I welcome you to take my email address and to get in touch with me if you have any questions at all, or if you have anything that you'd like me to further on. Lastly, now, I would like to move to the question and answers part of this workshop, and I welcome your questions. Thank you very much for your attention, and I hope this has been of value to you. I'll pass it back to you now.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mohamed. We already got 7 questions. We can look at them, and I can see that there will be more questions coming on. They fall in love with the last part about virtual reality. We see a lot of comments about that. Excellent. And that's how we understand your passion for IE as well. Thank you so much for the presentation. You gave definitions to multiple fields of technology. Now, are you able to see the Q&A?
I am. I have it in front of me. So I'm just going to start from the top to bottom. Again, if I don't have the answer for you right now, please leave your email address with one of the hosts or on the board. If I can't answer it right now, I will get back to you with a detailed answer in the near future. However, hopefully, I should be able to answer your question now, just in case I can't. So let's start with so what does cookies mean? So cookies is the data which is stored from anything that you do online. So it's your digital footprints. If you go into Facebook, then your cookies say that you went into Facebook. If you go into Google and you type something in, you're looking for juice, it will save the information and the letters that the words that you type on Google or any platform online. I hope that answers your question there. What does the prototype have to contain? Right, so again, that's a great question. The prototype, I would say first thing you need to do is you need to look at your wireframes. You need to understand what it is that you're creating. What is your starting point and what is the finish point? So we create a shop. So when you come onto the shop, you have a home page and that has your products on there. And then you click on the product. So the next page is the product and information about the product. The third page is the checkout basket. And then after you click and you pay and you check out, then it goes back to the home page. So you can have 3 pages. So with any prototype, you have to have a series of pages of where you're going to go and what's going to be on them. That's how you create a prototype. I hope that answered your question there. Okay, the next part, the roles of the A/B and split testing. So we have developed a program now. And with this program, we have found that there are different parts, there are different parts or different ideas that we have, conflicting ideas. So, excuse me. So one part of this is we think we should have a black background, but then somebody says, no, we should have a white background. So then we go to our testers, our customers, and say, please test these ones out. Which one do you prefer? So that's split testing. It's looking at the difference between, do you prefer this or do you prefer that? Maybe one has functions, many functions, one has little. So that's what we mean by that. It's looking at the ways of testing a program simply step by step. What programming language do I advise for learners? So I would say look at Python. There are many online tools and you can go onto YouTube, Khan's Academy. Let me type Khan's Academy here for you just to make it easier. I've rated the Academy wrong, but never mind. So there are various free online tools. In the future, at the end of this workshop, I will provide a link with different things which you can look at. Now, the next one here is I have a problem with landing pages. In which action should the landing page appear to the user? Can the landing page be a home page, and what elements for success? Right. So in regards to any landing page, we need just to think, what problem are we solving? Why do we need to have a landing? Like, what is the purpose of having the software? So in order for me to best answer that, I need to give you an example. So let's talk about Facebook. So on Facebook, we say it's to connect and talk to your different friends. But when you go onto Facebook, you don't go straight onto the chat box with your friends. You go onto a homepage which has all the different news feeds and so on and so forth. So we understand the problem that we're solving is connecting people and sharing information. And the chat boxes and things and the videos that appear, they're on separate pages. So think about what problem you're solving. Why do your customers or users want to use your website or web page? And then where do they need to go in order to have their problems solved? Again, let me give you another example just to make it easier. Just Eat. So that's a food platform. So you go onto there, you enter your locate. So what it is it's a page with just a search box. So where are you and what are you looking for? Once we understand the information or the preferences of the user, we can then guide them to the right places in order to best serve them or give them the solution to their problem that they're seeking. And that would be finding food in the case of Just Eat. Just need to scroll to the top of this. What are the elements of successful landing page? Simplicity. Can you solve your customer's problem, and can you get your customer from point A to point B as fast as possible? Yes, you can. And how can you do that? You can do that by understanding their journey, by looking at the things that I mentioned earlier. That's customer, that's understanding your market, that's understanding your customers, that's understanding your customer persona and your brand. So Pepsi and Coke are the same thing, but they're branded completely different. So we need to think about that as well. And we need to think about our customers. Why are they using your website? Who are they? What style are they? Do they like to move slow? Do they like to move fast? Once you understand these, you can then move on and answer that question. If you don't know these, I would advise you to do the research and then answer that question, as it's based on your customers. Every customer is different. Once you understand your customers, you'll understand your market. Right, what's the difference between a web designer, front end, and back end developer? So in order to be a web designer, you would need to know so front end is anything you can see in the front. The back end is the operational part, which you don't see. It's all the moving cogs, which make things work. That's as simple as it is for that. So what's the difference between machine learning and cybersecurity and the future of them? Right, so machine learning is basically AI. It's enabling tasks or algorithms to be performed with information given to them about the user, supervised or unsupervised. Sorry, yeah. So I won't go into that, but it's effectively it's a system of AI which learns from the user behavior and what the user's doing to help and support their user journey as part of the platform. For example, in Netflix, it sees that you like action movies or comedy movies or romantic movies, and then it starts recommending them to you. The machine is learning, it's growing with you. Cybersecurity is the protection of your software or of your digital space. It's using various forms of firewalls, or in order for you to do cybersecurity, you will need to have less exit and entry points for people to enter or exit from your platform. The data that's being sent and transmitted and received. Again, cybersecurity is quite a big part. I didn't cover cybersecurity today because it can get very advanced, but at the same time, it can be simplistic in it's the protecting of your digital space. It's reducing the risks of sending, of transmitting, or receiving infectious programs, algorithms, which will cause harm or will manipulate data or release, sensitive information. So it's any form of breach, it's any form of pain points through illegal or unwarranted harassment of sorts. So cybersecurity is basically the protection of your cyberspace. So the next question here is, we have seen how many technologies have developed in recent years. So what will be the most jobs in the future? So I can't say for certain what most jobs are going to be in the future, but I believe personally that the future is going to go in the area of augmented reality, hyper reality, and virtual reality. Now, these consist of people developing machine learning and AI to support that as well. So if I was you personally, I would look at AI development or machine learning development as in the way that we're going. We're moving forward where anybody can design programs and platforms, but then to keep them running, we're using AI. So if you can design the AI, which makes these systems and robots and drones work, then I think that you're going to be in a very good place, and you're going to have a very good bit of job security. Something else I'd look into is the programming or the algorithms behind robotics. So in order for drones and robots to work in factories, autonomous factories that can work without humans, farming, where the drones and everything is working without humans, I would seriously look into that programming tools and abilities to keep infrastructures and smart cities going without humans. If you can learn to program in regards to AI, I think you're going to go a long way. Right. Now, the next, how can we build apps like famous apps, like Fiverr? Is there any possibility to get the code source of this app? Oh, I'd rather not answer that question because I don't know. And a code source, that's somebody's information that belongs to somebody. I wouldn't take something that belongs to somebody else. If you want to get code, I would have somebody create it for you, or you to create it yourself. But I wouldn't take anybody's information. That's their work. So let them have that. If you want to create something similar, I would applaud you for doing so, but don't get somebody else's code. Make your own or get it made for you. How long does it take to learn coding? How long does it take to play football? How long does it take to... That's a very wide question. And it's very interesting in regards to you saying that, because it's at what level you want to go to. So I've worked with some senior programmers. These guys, very, very intelligent. They're in England here. They're working on, I think it's over £100,000 a year. Very, very highly paid. And these guys, they've been to university. They've got, many, many years of experience. However, I've worked with other people. They've just learned coding at home. They can make an app, they can make a website, but they can't do anything else. So it depends what level and where you want to take it. Do you want to make things for yourself, or do you want to work for a company? Do you want to be a consultant like I am, or do you want to be somebody who works as a freelancer, just offering your services on programs like Fiverr, people per hour, and so on and so forth? The next question: in which areas could we benefit from marketing and a marketing base for our technology? Where's the question mark? There it is. Based approach for our technology design process. You're very welcome. It's my pleasure, Ayman. So let me get back to you on that question. So if I could just ask the host, if you could get that question, please, and then just send it to my email, as there's a bit more to that, and I would like to answer it in a better way than just over the microphone here, because there are various ways for you to get your technology marketed well, but I believe there's processes in doing that. And again, you're very welcome, and I'm glad that this workshop has been of value to you. Now, the next part is working as a freelancer at tech. Is it better than working for a company? In my opinion, it depends on what security. So as a freelancer, you can charge whatever you want. You can work whenever you want. but you're not promised the next customer. Maybe you're going to get 10 customers this week, but then next week or next month or next 2 months or 3 months, you have nobody. So that's something that you should consider. Working for a company, you have an element of job security, but you have to listen to the people, you have a boss and so on and so forth. Me personally, I would say it's better to work for a company. You have the job security, you can get the experience, and then you have a guaranteed use of work. Then from there, if you become successful, people know you, trust you, and want you specifically to do your job, and you have a range of customers waiting for you, then absolutely go freelancer. That's my advice. Excellent. So what is okay, one second, let me reread this question. What is the features of the best app that could be the favorite of one user in my perspective? You know, as simple as that question is, I'm struggling to answer it. So I'm just gonna pass that. I mean, if I was to give you an answer, I would say Google with their simplicity, the ability to just type in a question and get an answer, no fuss, no busy. It's just simple search results. I think that's amazing. I think all programs and apps and software should have the simplicity of Google. I know that's probably not the answer that you were expecting, but that's my personal opinion. So what could be the disadvantages of a CMS like WordPress to build a website? It's based on the plugins, you know. So it's what plugins are available. Are you willing to buy themes? Will they work? What's your level of experience when putting them together? There's some platforms are ready to make, kind of just good to go. And at an early stage, it'd be great to get some experience using platforms like just like Wix and GoDaddy and whatnot, and get your head around it. And once you understand, then you can go ahead and start using WordPress, to Django, maybe even further in implementing different tools. WordPress is great. I'm not saying anything about it, but as an entry level person, I would advise that you just kind of understand and learn the tools first before going in there and struggling with them, because I know a lot of people have been using the different tools and they've had struggles. And in my personal experience, about 85 to 90% of people that use WordPress complain about it. That's my personal experience. However, 15 to 10% of people, they love it. So it's a mixed bag. It's a mixed bag. Now, what is branding? So branding, that's your logo, and that's saying basically, this is who I am. So my logo could be, so my logo is a VR headset, so it's a wine headset VRS. So it's your identification with the world, what your company symbol is, what your company is representing. How can you put that into a logo or into a simple picture so that Facebook people see an F, Twitter they see a bird, Snapchat they see a bell, Netflix they see an N. So branding is basically the colors, the
visual
use of
identity.
Sorry, Alan?
I said including the visual identity and how the brand makes you feel and all those elements.
Yeah, so unfortunately I can't answer it, in
Yes, it's a lot of
it's
it's a big field of work, and especially marketing.
it's
Once
huge.
you touch, it's huge. Once you touch on something, you can't finish. Actually,
Yeah.
we are on time. We got two answers left. We will send them to you via email, and you're free to answer them, and then we forward them on the group.
Wonderful. Thank you again, everybody, for taking part in the workshop. I hope it's been of value to you, and I hope that you can take this away. Again, this is my email should you want to keep in touch or you want to ask me any questions or find out any further information. I wish you all the best in the future, and I think this is an absolutely incredible workshop and
It was,
opportunity for you all to learn, grow, and become better as employees and workforce of the future. Thank you so much again.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you
you
so
so
much.
much, Mr. Mohammed.
Thank you.
Thank you
We
for
are
the honor and accepting our invitation. And we would like to have you again. Thank you for the resourceful session. And now, before we go back, we go to the learning session with all the participants. Let's do a little presentation of the two organizations behind this event. And it's you, Asma. Are you here?
Yeah, hello guys. So this is Asma Ashraibi with you today from Timor. So I'm very glad to have you all, and I'm very glad to witness your interactions with us. And thank you for being here, for being loyal, interested, and interactive with our workshops. So yeah, as you know, MORE is an organization and a platform, an e-learning platform that serves to collaborate with other organizations to prepare something very good and interesting for you. As this bootcamp that we have prepared with the skills for skills, and this platform is here to bring the learning and the learning strategy and the idea of e-learning to Morocco, to our community, our society, to help us learn more, as the name of the platform says. And yeah, so please, Hanan. Hanan, can you hear me? So please,
Yes.
can you go? Yeah. So yes, this is our team. As you know, it was this team. The dream team was behind the work you see, the workshops you see, everything, including this bootcamp, the skills of skills, the skills of the future bootcamp. This team is the one that worked very hard to bring you the best. So yeah, as we see here, we have Asma El-Haji is the leader of our team. She is just amazing. And we have the content and program team, including Yusra Mu'tasim, Asma Ashraibi, me, Asma Taji, and Wasila Al-Baji. And we have the communication and public relations team, Zinam Darkoush and Wiam Al-Badri. And we have the digital marketing and web development team for Yasser El-Ghabri and Abdel Munaim Bayshu. And we thank you all from the bottom of my heart for your amazing energy and work that you bring to this initiative. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, dear participants. Thank you so much, dear facilitators, for doing a very great and amazing job. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Asma. And now let's move to Skills for Skills. I want to introduce it to you. It's an initiative that focuses on skills and jobs of the future and promotes for upskilling and reskilling plans to acquire the skills needed for the future of workplace. Our work is based on researches and findings of the future of jobs reported by World Economic Forum, and for that we are connecting the international expertise to the local level through trainings and mentorship programs by international professionals. We target those who are in need for upskilling and reskilling plans, such as new graduate students, early stage entrepreneurs, and first entry level workers, because we think that they are mostly in need for those skilling solutions. And if you are a student who graduates thinking about your career, we are also preparing sessions about the careers of the future soon, so stay tuned. This picture here really that you see witnesses the bit of this idea when I was exploring the future of skills in an international event, and I saw the need for addressing the huge gaps between now and tomorrow, and that we really need to be better prepared for the future, and that's what we are doing now. So thank you so much to MORE community, and thank you for being part of this amazing bootcamp. My advice to you, if you have anything in mind, if you are passionate about something, keep working on it. Really, humanity needs more of impact-driven individuals who care and share. Thank you, MORE community and team, for bridging this knowledge and learnings. So the two initiatives are hosted by the Global Shapers Community Marrakesh Hub, and 50% of our facilitators are from the network. Thank you so much for staying with us here, and see you tomorrow for the next workshops. And before that, let's do the learning session for participants who want to share their learning from this session and best practices from the last 3 sessions. Feel free to stay with us. If Mr. Dharrat will stay with us, I think he's welcome to stay and answer any of your questions if you have.